All right, guys, sorry, had to stop the video there. So I created my 3 plots, or my 3 coordinate pairs that were going to be on my line D that I had, and it had to make sure it went through the point D. And I could have used point D as one of my coordinate pairs, but I wanted to find 3 that I could find separate. So I went ahead and wrote them, and it says to identify the rule. Well, if I look at these, I know that my rule is going to be add 2 to X to get Y, and to get should be 2 words, but I ran out of room, so I had to kind of write them together. So that would be your rule for this one. Then it says to construct a line E that is parallel to line P and has to include this. So I'm going to do the same thing where I am going to make, and this is actually really hard, I'm going to do it this way so that I can see to make sure that it does run parallel. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and draw that line. I'm going to draw my arrows in right now. Okay, I'm going to label this E, lowercase e, because it does have to have that point E. All right, so then it says to name 3 points. Well, I'm just going to find point here, and then let's go to a point here. Okay, so the first one I found was 2, 1. Okay, the second one I found was 3, 2. The next one I found was 5, 4. Okay, so when I look at these, it says to identify the rule to describe E. Well, when I look at this, I know that my Y is going to be less than my X, and it's going to be 1 less. So to describe this rule, I can say Y is 1 less than X. Or I can say X, so Y is 1 less than X, or I can say X is 1 more than Y. So you could actually have 2 different rules for that. And it says compare and contrast lines D and E in relationship to line P. Well, when I look at this, line E is closer than line D, and both lines are parallel. Line P. Okay. Then it says you're going to write a rule for a 4th line that would be parallel to those above and would contain a point that's 3.5 and 6. So I'm going to find 3.5, and then I'm going to go up to 6, which is going to be right here. Okay. So this is, I'm going to call this point F. And we're going to label this line as line F, lowercase f, okay? So I'm going to draw, and remember I want it to be parallel. So when I make it parallel, let's do this. There we go. Okay, so here it is parallel. Okay, so it's not going to touch, so still parallel, we're good. And then let's go ahead. What I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to find 3 plots on here to kind of figure out what this is. So the first one is going to be half, because I went over half and I went up 3, and I went over 1 and I went up 3.5, and then my next one was I went over 1.5 up 4, 1 and 1/2, and then up 4. So that when I look at this, guys, if I really look at what this is, what my rule is Y is 2 and 1/2 more, sorry guys, you can't see that, than X. Or what we can say is X is 2.5 less than Y. So that can also go 2 different ways. That if I came up here and did 1.5 plus 2.5, I would get 3. If I added 1 plus 2.5, I would get that 3.5. If I added 1.5 plus 2.5, well, I'm still going to get 4. Even up here, guys, I can add 2.5 to this, and I would still get that 6, so I know that that rule is correct.